As soon as I open it, roaches. To where when I walk in the house,
did you scream?
You don't know my life, bro.
Welcome back to Econix Talks, guys.
When I pop up, everybody gonna be like, man, overnight success.
Lifestyle topics, entrepreneurship, and investing.
Are you serious about this? Because if you are, then I'm willing to back the business.
We want to inform you, educate you, and empower you so that you can maximize your life. Let's get started. Hey, it's Josh. Thanks so much for listening to Econix Talks, whether you're brand new to the show and to me, or if you've been listening since the very beginning. As you know, managing a podcast takes a ton of time when you're independent. If you've enjoyed the show, whether it's just an episode or many, and want to support, you can buy me a coffee. This will help cover expenses and make it just a little easier so I can continue to give you guys the best content possible. Click the link in the show notes or description that says support if you'd like to contribute. And again, thank you guys for listening. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Econix Talks, guys. Today we have Brian Robinson, aka the Infamous CPA. What's going on, brother?
Man, what's good, bro? I'm happy to be here. Appreciate
you, man. Appreciate you. So we got a lot to talk about today. So how's your day going?
Man, my day is going exceptional, man. We finally got some good weather in Chicago. So look.
Okay. You know, man, Chicago is actually one of the cities that I've never been to, but I do want to go to. So give me some suggestions. If I come to the city, like what do I have to see?
Man, you got a bunch to see. So Chicago is super diverse. Our downtown area is crazy. So from the food to the sightseeing, you got to visit the Bean. You got to go like sightseeing around just the whole city. What I typically recommend people to do is go on a helicopter ride. Go on a helicopter ride and get that aerial view of the city because, man, it is crazy.
That's what's up.
Yeah, it's just so much. It's just so much to see. But make sure you visit downtown for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Shout out to the Shy, man. Shout out to the Shy. So let's get right into it, man. My first question for you is just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your upbringing, and any experience that you've had in entrepreneurship as a whole before you got to where you are now.
Got you. So for those who don't know me, my name is Brian Robinson, go by the Infamous CPA. So I started my career in public accounting as an auditor for one of the big four accounting firms. Then, while I was working there, I quickly realized that corporate wasn't for me. I realized that I didn't want to do all the corporate politics. And I knew that there was so much more I could be putting out into the world and I could be bringing a lot of value to a lot of different people. So while I was at corporate, I was building up these income streams on the back end. And I'll talk more about that later. But right now I focus on rental cars and real estate. That's all I really focus on. But in terms of my upbringing, I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago. Was in a 2-parent home until about 8th grade when my parents, separated. And then from there, I really started focusing on myself, right? That was kind of a huge shift in my life. And I spiraled like most kids would do, but then I slowly found myself, towards the end of my high school career. And I was always a guy who never really cared about grades or anything like that, but I was intelligent. So I always maintained, a 3.0 grade point average. But something huge that transpired or kind of a shift in my life was when I was graduating high school. And I was looking at all of these people that graduated higher ranked than me in my class. And it really lit a fire up under me because I realized that I didn't even compete. I just let these people who I felt were not intellectually superior than me, outwork me. And from then on out, I kind of adopted this mindset that I wouldn't let anyone outwork me again. And that's when I really began to get very, very serious about my personal and professional development. So I took that mindset into college. I started out at Prairie State Community College, went there for a year, and then I transferred to Northern Illinois University. And I just got super involved, really just focused on my mindset, focused on, again, that personal professional development piece, as well as, dealing with some trauma that I had from my childhood, just around divorce and, just my general upbringing. And then from there, I really just began to grow and see a lot of success. And I kind of just stuck with it. So yeah, that's a brief intro into my story.
That's what's up, man. I got so many questions, man. So first of all, you mentioned that you started to do a lot of self work around eighth grade. What were some of the things that you were doing to kind of help yourself out, doing on the mental side of things, the spiritual side of things as well?
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me, since I was a person who really lacked a lot of self confidence, I really struggled with that for a while. It was really doing a lot of reading. So I realized after taking a couple psychology class that the subconscious mind was so powerful. So everything that you consume, whether that's scrolling social media, listening to music, watching television, whatever it is going to have an impact on your mental, whether you realize it or not. So when I realized that, I actually cut out a lot of that junk. So I stopped watching TV a lot. I stopped, listening to a ton of music, and I really just focused on listening to podcasts and reading books. Focused on mindset, finance, real estate, whatever it was. It was all about my personal development. And another thing I did was I created this Instagram page, which turned into the Infamous CPA, where I created a timeline of all, personal development, whether that's people in real estate, whether that's people, doing personal finance, whatever it was. I realized that I had this addiction to social media. So if I was going to be on there, I needed to be learning something. So
Right.
all of that kind of played into that journey of, really just growing personally and professionally.
That's what's up, man. So what are some of your book suggestions?
Oh man, I just finished one this morning called Relentless. It's like good to great to unstoppable. Somebody just recommended that to me. Man, phenomenal.
That's what's up.
Phenomenal.
That's what's
But
up.
but outside of that, man, of course, finance wise, I love The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Another one of my favorite books is called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And I really love that book because it breaks down the mindset between the poor, the middle class, and the wealthy, and forces people who are stuck in that middle and poor class to really address some of those financial habits as well as those financial mindsets that are limiting them. So that's one that I would definitely recommend. And there's a ton of different books out there. 18 Minutes, The Power of Habit. Um, Man, it's a ton of books. I got a whole bookshelf
How often do you read?
every day. So I try to read 25 pages a day, or at least 30 minutes, because I think, man, it's super important to just get your day off to a great start. One thing I struggled with a while ago was as soon as I wake up, I'm on my phone. And I know a lot of people are that same way, but now I keep a book next to my nightstand. So when I roll over, I have the choice of phone or book. When I win the day, I choose that book, and then I get off to a fresh start. So yeah, I think it's just super important to always be training your mind.
I like
don't
that
do
you
it.
said, I like that you said some days, like you leave the book there because you have the mental intent to do so, but there are some days where you don't grab the book. And
Yeah.
I like that you admit that because it shows that you're human, you're normal, but
Sure.
it also shows that even in that, what we would call a failure, you're mentally intentional. You still have intent behind putting the book next to you because what is visible. So the visibility of the book is a constant reminder that what you should be reading. So even on days where you don't read, you still have to force your mind to make a decision about whether or not you're going to actually read. And that's the power of the subconscious mind. And I think people miss out on it, or they don't understand the power of how to feed it and why it's important to like put little reminders in your day of, why you do what you do, the self-affirmations. That stuff is real, man. That stuff is real. What has been the most impactful book in your life? I'm on this book thing because I'm really big on that mindset, dog. Because that's people miss that, and I want to give some good resources out to people. So what's the most impactful book that you've ever read?
Impactful. I think it probably would have been that Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I wish I had my bookshelf in front of me. That probably was the most impactful. Outside of that one, yeah, that's probably the biggest one for sure.
Yeah, and what did it do for you? How did it help change you?
So, man, it just made me realize that first and foremost, I was repeating a lot of the same financial mistakes that everybody around me was doing, from parents to siblings to cousins, whatever it was, friends. I was repeating a lot of those same mistakes. So when I realized that, it's like, okay, well, if I've been essentially repeating the same mistakes as everyone else, well, I never created a financial identity for myself. So now I have the opportunity to do so. And that kind of made me go harder to really flush out some of those poor beliefs and kind of replace them with wealthy habits and wealthy beliefs as well. So that was huge. That was huge in kind of setting that foundation. So I think a lot of people, they want to make more money or they want to advance personally, professionally, but they don't focus on setting that solid foundation. And I feel like the mind, man, is the perfect way to set a foundation to get you to really wherever you want to go and get
That's
you
facts.
through whatever you want to do.
That's facts, man. And when you start to pour into your mind, you start to uncover things, and then you start to get deeper into it. Like, oh, I didn't realize this was a thing. Or I didn't realize that was a thing. And you start opening up more books, and then you start to figure out, well, okay, if this is an issue, if I can fix this issue of something as simple as losing weight or eating better, oh, well, that translates to me being able to focus longer, because you make the correlation or connection that all of these things that you're working on are muscles. But the most important muscle is the mind muscle, your mental, because if you strengthen that muscle, you can go farther, you can go faster. It's just so many things and it starts from that starts here on you. So I like that. I like that your mindset is definitely on, self-help and empowerment and making sure you feed that mind. A lot of people, I've been talking about this for a while. I was talking to, a friend of mine about people looking for a secret. Everybody wants this secret to success. Everybody is looking for like this shortcut, like, oh my God, like what's the secret? What's the secret? How do you get rich? How do you make money? But there's no secret, bro. It doesn't exist. There is no secret. The secret is get your ass out there and work. It's hard work. It's you have to move with intention. You have to move, intelligently. You have to be calculated. You be risk adverse. There's ways to do it, but you have to do it. Yeah. And I think most people don't get like that. That's the secret that they're looking for, is just do it. Literally just do it. It's that simple. Anyways, so now you have, you built so many streams of income. Tell me how you started building streams of income. And obviously you had a shift of mindset, but how did you learn to start beginning to do and act?
Yeah, I really think it was just instinct, honestly. So when I graduated college, and I started my first job, I was really looking to increase my income right away, because I quickly realized that the money that I was making was not enough. So I started my career, my salary was $60K a year. And because I was financially illiterate all through college, I made a lot of financial mistakes. I went and bought a brand new car. So that was taking $500 out of my pocket between, my car note and insurance. And then student loans were huge because, I didn't realize it at the time, but it only costed me $50K to get my bachelor's degree. And I got $48,000 in grants, right? But I ended up with $27,000 in student loan debt. Why? Because I was financially illiterate, just taking all the loans they threw at me. So once I graduated, I'm looking for, additional income streams so I can have more of a cushion. And I'm big on not reinventing the wheel. So I read somewhere that, 90% of the world's millionaires own some form of real estate. So I'm like, okay, I'm about to go buy some real estate. So I literally, one of my profiles actually flipped houses. So literally after my 9 to 5, I would go to his projects and I would do manual labor in exchange for me just being able to pick his brain and ask some questions. And I kind of just stuck with real estate, but I was looking for houses. I wanted to do this house hacking strategy where, you buy a multifamily building, 2 or 4 units, you live in one unit, you rent out the rest. So you live for free and even cash flow, but I didn't have the capital to do it. So even though I didn't, I'm like, okay, I'm going to still continue to take steps towards this, because I understand that, if I'm just sitting, waiting until I have the money, you never know what can happen. So I actually started looking for houses, was running analysis on a ton of different, properties, but then just stepped back and like, okay, I need another stream of income to increase that cash flow in order to get me to this goal quicker. And that's kind of when I ran into the car rental business. So one of my friends was actually doing this. And like I just mentioned, I had this car taking $500 out of my pocket every single month. And at the time, it was busy season for, CPAs and auditors. So I'm working 70-hour weeks. I'm talking, I get to drive this car one day a week, literally. Right. So that's when I just took the leap of faith and I put that car on this platform called Hire Car, which rents vehicles to people who do Uber and Lyft, as well as people who drive for delivery, like, Grubhubs and Uber Eats. And that thing was booked, within the first couple of days. And my first rental, the guy had it for 36 days. I made $1,200. So after, my car note and insurance, I saw $700 in cash flow. And that's really what was life changing to me, because I spent maybe 2 hours getting that car ready to go, because all I had to do was take photos, put the create the listing on the platform, as well as getting an Uber and Lyft inspection. So literally it took 2 hours to make $1,200. And I'm like, okay, this is something that really can be valuable. So I literally partnered up, with my homie who introduced me to the idea. And we just started, buying cars left and right through that partnership. But then I was also buying them myself as well. And then I just went hard at that one thing. And then 7 months later, I was able to circle back and actually use some of the profits from the car rental business to actually purchase my first multifamily property. And then from there, it just began to snowfall as I scaled the car rental business. And then I'm living for free, so I'm able to save, way more. And then I ended up selling that first building for about 75K profit. And then from there, I started flipping houses in 2021. I flipped two houses. So then I used that money through some of that in the stock market. And then I just continued to, scale the car rental business, as well as now educate people on how to get into the car rental business as well.
That's dope, man. I love stories like yours. And one of the main reasons why, you remind me a lot of myself, because as I've gotten and moved, through this journey of entrepreneurship, one of the lessons that I'm learning is it takes time to build something. Like it takes time. And, in my earlier 20s, I was like, oh, I want it now. I want it now. I want it now. And I turned 31? I'm 31 this year. I turned 31 in a month. But when you start to move through entrepreneurship, it's like, oh, wow, like, how in the world did Warren Buffett build so much wealth? You start to understand what $1 billion really is, and you still really can't conceptualize it, but you start to respect money. And I think that if we talk about financial literacy, I talk about it a lot on the podcast. And one of the things that I think people lack is respect for money. When you don't value money, or when you don't value that thing that, pays your bills, or, can get you out of debt, this, that, and the third, if you don't respect it, you just lose it, because it has no meaning to you. And everybody understands what money can do. Everybody understands, money can buy stuff for you, but not a lot of people understand that money can really help you out. And it's not, it's not the love of money. I think people misconstrue that, talking about the love of money is the root of all evil. I don't love money, but I also understand that money is a means to an end. Money has its place. Money provides peace of mind. Money provides stability for my family, that kind of stuff. Health, being able to afford health insurance, all kinds of things that money can provide. So, when you start to respect money, you treat it different. Then your decisions become different. Then that's when, like you said, you start to figure out, oh, credit. Now I have to work on my credit. Now I have to work on this. Now I have to work on that, because you financially become more aware of your surroundings, and you become aware of your spending habits. You know what? Maybe I don't need that pizza. Maybe I don't need to eat out this week so much. And you start to kind of question those types of decisions. And that's when you start to see yourself make that shift mentally, and then you begin to grow, and now you're able to kind of move a little bit different, like you said, and that's dope that you were able to go back, figure out another business because you had an end goal, and so what gave you the mindset to do that? How did you figure out, like, let me go down this road real quick, because I can grab a quick bag on that. Let me circle back around to real estate, after that.
Yeah, I think it was just being impatient, honestly, and realizing that, it's a lot of people that make a lot of money, and it's normal. One thing I had to accept, because I didn't accept it at first. I'm like, you see people on Twitter talking about, oh, I make 1K a day. And he's like, you make what? You telling me I make, 4K after taxes every single month, like in my bank account, you make 1K a day. It's like, at first you don't want to believe it, but then you start to accept that fact. And it's like, okay, well, he looked just like me. If he can do it, I can do it. So let me figure out how.
Right.
So really just surrounding myself with people who was doing way better than me. It's like, okay, I'm taking the slow, safe route, but I really believe in myself and I trust myself. So, okay, what if I took a more risky route? Do I believe in myself to the point where I know that whatever the outcome is going to be a win for me? Because either I'm going to win financially or it's going to be a lesson that I can leverage for my next venture. So I really just adopted that mindset. Like I'm either going to win or I'm either going to win. And then from there, yeah, I just took the leap.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So I'm going to start asking you questions about the business side of, the car rental business. So first question on that is, how do you get into that business? Can you just give us like a brief overview of what it is that business entails?
Yep. So a brief intro. So the rental car business is honestly the most comparable business is probably Airbnb because you have this commodity, with Airbnb, you have apartments, but in this case, you have a vehicle. So people are going to rent your vehicle for two particular purposes. One is to make money, like on a platform called Hire Car, like I mentioned earlier. These people are going to be driving Uber, they're going to be driving Lyft, they're going to be using delivery services. On the flip side, other people are going to rent your vehicle mainly for leisure. Maybe it's the summer, they're in town for a trip, or on the flip side, a lot of people rent on this platform called Turo because maybe their car's down in the shop and they need a car quickly and they don't want to go through one of those major rental car platforms because one, you don't even get to pick your car. Two, they're typically more expensive and out of the way. And three, on Turo, people can actually bring the car to you. And it's just way more convenient, right? So those are going to be the two purposes of why people would be renting your vehicle. And the two main platforms that I focus on are Hire Car and Turo, because what I've seen, they're the most profitable. So from there, you kind of just decide which platform that you want to go on. But man, it's so many safeguards in place. And the thing I love most and what pretty much everybody loves most about this business is the fact that one, it's mostly passive. So we're not working a ton of hours on this business. Like honestly, I work maybe 3 to 5 hours on my business every single month, right? And then the barrier to entry is super low. So you're not spending tens of thousands of dollars to get into this business. You can actually get into this business with less than $1,000. So that's what makes it crazy. And then on top of that, you can make your initial investment back, 3-4 times that in 30 days. So the cash on cash returns, are typically in the thousands of percents when you're doing it right? When you understand what you actually need to do to not only get your vehicle financed with little money out of pocket, but also to get that listing on the platform the right way and make an attractive listing to the point where your vehicle is rented out, within the first 48 hours that you listed on the platform.
That's what's up, man. That's a ton of that's great information. I've definitely heard of Turo. Never heard of Hire Car, but I've definitely looked at Turo as an investment vehicle because it's very similar to Airbnb, and I ran an Airbnb for 4 years. So so I'm very familiar with that type of industry, if you will. But you talked about that it doesn't cost a lot to get started. So if somebody is like, all right, like I got $1,000, I got $2,000, like how would you advise them to approach that type of business if they're interested?
Yep. So first and foremost, I always tell them you got to protect yourself. So you need the LLC, right? You got to have that limited liability protection first and foremost. But then, what people need, I typically want folks to have a 680 credit score if they're going to just go at it alone, right? But on the flip side, you can leverage what we call OPC, other people's credit. So if you partner with an individual, which is what I did, early on, you can partner with somebody with better credit than you. As long as they have a 680 credit score, you can then get financing in your business name, even with a new LLC. So when we talk about getting into the business with a very little money, how we do it is we'll go get financing before we go to the dealership. So let me give you an example. Let's say you want a Kia Optima, which is you can get a used one right now for around $20K. Most lenders will finance 105 to 110% of the value of that vehicle. So if it's valued out at $20K, you're looking at, what is that? At least an extra what is 500 to 1,000 to 2,000 extra to cover, your sales tax, title fees, licensing fees, things of that nature. So a lot of cases you can get in with very little money out of pocket, or, completely no money from just purchasing a vehicle. Now, when you talk about additional things you need to get your vehicle on the platform, we always recommend GPS trackers and shut-off devices, because you always need to know where your vehicle is. And if a renter is not responsive or the vehicle gets stolen, you need to be able to disable the starter on that vehicle so the vehicle can't go anywhere. So that's how you mitigate your risk in regards to, some things like that happening.
I was going to ask you about that, about protecting the business. Because, with Airbnb, one of the things that my biggest thing with Airbnb was automate. So I did a whole series on that. Y'all go check that out. No, shameless plug, by the way. But it's automation. So I had like automatic locks. I had cameras, but I didn't start out that way. So I had to build up, to that point. So I'm glad you said that. So those two things were what again? The starter. So they keep the car from starting, and then a GPS tracker, right?
Yep. And those are typically one product. So, if you get the right product, there's like a package, right? Outside of that, I always recommend people get a lockbox unless they get a vehicle where you can control it from your phone, because that takes your time out of the business. Instead of actually going to meet with renters for the pickup and the drop off, but now you just verify their identity virtually by, having them take a selfie with their ID next to their face, as well as just a regular picture of their ID. Now their identity is verified. You can give them that lockbox, maybe 10 minutes before they get to the location of the vehicle. So all in all, those additional accessories, from the GPS tracker to the lockbox, even the LLC itself, all of that comes out to somewhere around $500, right? So if you're spending $500 on the down payment after, all those fees and whatnot, well, then you're getting into, a car for $1,000. And with a car like a Kia Optima, if you're on a 75 plan on Turo, and I can break that down a bit later, or higher car, essentially you can cash flow somewhere between $500 to $700 every single month, net of all your expenses, with that one particular car. But, most of our students, what we do is we actually don't start with one car. We typically are starting with 3 or 4 cars, right? So if you multiply that cash flow, 500 by 3 or 4, you're looking at, 1,500 to 2,000 in cash flow every single month, and that may not even seem like a lot, but when you think about it, most people's mortgage or their rent is less than that. So when you take care of your housing expense first and foremost, which is typically 30 to 50% of people's monthly income, well, now they have so much money to save. They have so much money to invest. And that's just with, getting started in the business. But it's savvy ways to scale it to where you could literally cover all your expenses and have a cushion and kind of reach that financial security level very, very quickly.
That's what's up. And guys, it's not like a get rich quick scheme. It's not it, but there are strategies and ways to scale fast. These are proven strategies like that. And again, that's why I love the car rental business, because it's so similar to Airbnb. And one of the things that one of the comparables, you talked about was that time. So, once you automate, you get more time to yourself. So, when running an Airbnb property or car rental business, you don't always have to be in front of the person. You don't always have to meet up with the person. If you figure out how to automate, then you get your time back. That gives you more time to scale and figure out how to make the business bigger. So guys, when you start thinking about, any type of business, that's why you hear a lot of people say your biggest investment when you first start out are systems. What systems do you have in place to automate whatever you do? So, for example, with Airbnb, and I'm pretty sure Turo and HireCar have this as well, Airbnb dropped a feature called like the automated messaging. So, when somebody booked, as soon as they booked, it'll automatically send a message out to them explaining all the details. And I'm pretty sure Turo has that feature as well. Just to have it's something as simple as an automated message helped me out so much, because I got so many questions. I got so many, hey, what's this? What's the Wi-Fi password? What's this? And it'll be the same with the car. Well, where is this located in the car? Where's that located in the car? Well, I was like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of answering questions. I'm sick and tired of talking to guests. So let me do this. Boom. I had a form message as soon as they got to the property the morning of. It gave them everything that they needed, and then as a result, I started getting a lot less questions. So I was like, yes. So it's just small things like that that people have to realize that it's the success is in the details of the business. The success is in the small details, because obviously, real estate is very simple. You buy low, sell high. Car rental business is a very simple business. You buy it, you finance it, and you rent it out. The concept is simple, but the execution and the strategy, that's where people fail and succeed. Yep,
for sure.
So, and I like the way you said, you talked about the financing piece and then how much it costs. So what types of cars are best for this type of business?
Yeah, so you can actually run a play with luxury and economy, but honestly, I don't really teach the super luxury, and the reason being is because I want the majority of my students to succeed, right? So when you think about it, and you go outside, you're driving in traffic, what do you see most of? You see mostly economy vehicles, right? So those economy vehicles, I always say, are best. They're our bread and butter because they really don't have an off season. So those cars are going to rent literally 365, right? Versus when you're doing a luxury car, like I have 2 Teslas, but I knew that I needed to set a solid foundation of economy vehicles because in the winters in Chicago, as soon as that snow hits, those Teslas, they get maybe 1-2 rentals a month, right? They're not even covering the full car note. So I use the economy vehicles to, still provide cash flow during that time. That's why I always use a couple of different approaches with my students. We either do the 3-1 approach, where they start off, with 3 economy cars and 1 luxury vehicle, maybe a Benz or a Tesla, whatever it is, or they do 2 economies and 2 Teslas, just so we have something that's always going to be rented. But it really kind of depends on your market, because some places, they don't get, bad weather, like Texas. They don't get really crazy weather, or Florida, or, Cali, but I'm in the Midwest, so we do see the snow.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you that as a follow-up question. How long did it take you to figure out your seasons and kind of your cash flow? So like when your slow season was, when your high season was?
Yeah, it actually took me a while. And the reason it did was because I didn't have a slow season. I never had a slow season. I actually just got into luxury cars. Maybe I bought my first Tesla in August of last year.
Okay.
So for the past, and I started this business.
You don't mind me asking?
I have 2 Model 3s.
Okay.
Yep. So when I started this business back in the fall of 2018, literally from then on to the 3 years that I was in the business, from August of last year or whatever, I literally had all economy vehicles, and they never really had a slow season. So now, honestly, this past winter was my first time seeing a slow season with those 2 cars. And that was just interesting to me. But now, like literally, this is our first good weather week in Chicago, and the cars have been rented like crazy. Those Teslas, I'm finally starting to see that full potential, of those luxury vehicles. But, something that's important even during these times is like most people would take that cash flow that they're seeing now and they will go spend it. But, me and what I teach my students is you need to have 3 months reserves of your car note and insurance for each and every one of your vehicles. Is super, super important to be able to float during, anything that happens, whether the car goes down and you don't have revenue coming from it, or, whether you're in a slow season. So it's just always important to just be protecting your ass in this business, and really in any business.
Thank you for saying that, because that slow season thing, whenever you go into a business, I think that it's safe to say that you should probably give any business at least 6 months to a year to see a true sales cycle. You really need a year, but you shouldn't start making adjustments until about month 6, because you got to give time for things to happen. You got to figure it out. You got to figure out what you don't know. Then you have to figure out what you do know. And so when you talk about, the seasons and this, like, yeah, it definitely, having those reserves, and that's extremely important. When you start a business, you should plan for reserves. You should definitely plan to be able to float something just in case. So for example, and I keep mentioning Airbnb because of similarities. When I went into that business, I made sure I was like, all right, well, if I buy the property, then I need to be able to afford the mortgage for a couple of months, before, in case something just goes left. So that was kind of my contingency plan or my plan B if something didn't work out and I needed a little bit more time to cash flow. So I had some cash on hand to float that mortgage. And it's the same concept in Turo or, hire car, you got to have some reserves because, it's not that the money ain't coming. It's not that. It's just, like you said, y'all might be in wintertime and your Tesla doesn't have snow tires. So nobody wants to drive a Tesla in the winter. Something just as simple as that may cause that car not to cash flow. So what do? And one of the cool things I like about you, brother, is the fact that you have multiple streams of income because of there are slow seasons. They're because of the slow season and on the Teslas, then you have the economy car. So it's just like investing. You diversify your investments. So your luxury cars are going to give you this type of feedback. And then on the other end, your economy cars are going to give you a certain type of feedback. And even those in themselves, they run different. They don't all operate or cash flow the same. So thank you for that. At dropping that knowledge about that.
For sure.
Next question is, what advice can you give to someone who's scared, that hesitancy, that fear? Because a lot of people have fear of spending money with fear that they'll never get it back.
Mm-hmm. Man, honestly, you just gotta trust yourself. My biggest advice to people who are starting out on that financial journey, you really just gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that feeling of you wanting to do something but fear holding you back, that in itself is a muscle, because fear never goes away. And honestly, a lot of time when I was growing up and trying to get over that self-confidence thing, man, I worked so hard. I wanted to be fearless so bad. And then one day it hit me. It's like, I will never be fearless, because fear never goes away. And the people who are most successful, they're not fearless either. They just get used to doing things despite being fearful. So you really just got to trust yourself, and then you realize that either you're going to make it work or you're going to make it work. If you have to shift and pivot, well, at least you can learn something out of it. But yeah, honestly, it just really just comes down to trusting yourself.
That's what's up, man. And making that jump is I'm gonna tell y'all, man, you're never not scared.
Yeah.
You're gonna always be scared. When you take on any business, when I started my NFT project, I was scared. When I bought my Airbnb, I was scared. When when I started a brand new job, I was not scared, but fear. And I won't say scared of it, but I was fearful, or I didn't know what to expect. Or I'm like, oh my God, what if this doesn't work out? What if that doesn't work? So you got all these different things playing in your head. Yeah. But eventually every entrepreneur has to jump. And even then, y'all, everybody doesn't have to do like something like this full time. This is a type of business that you can do part time, because you can determine how many cars you want in your fleet. So if you have one car in your fleet, that's nothing. You can still work a full-time job. If you have like 5, well, actually, that's a good question for you. At what point do you say somebody should have to start looking at like, all right, I probably need to step away and do this full time because it's just too much?
Honestly, I don't know. It's hard for me to say, because in my journey, and we didn't get to touch on this. So in the spring of 2020, I actually got laid off. So I was working for a commercial real estate developer as a financial analyst, and pandemic hit. They was focused on the hospitality industry with all hotels. Had to close every hotel, in the US and abroad. So unfortunately, I got laid off, and I was fortunate to have, the cash flow to choose whether or not I wanted to go back, and I chose not to, and been full-time since. But honestly, yeah, it's really hard to say, because it just doesn't take a lot of time out of your schedule. Like literally, if you systemize and automate it, you can have someone who handles the maintenance on your vehicles, which is very minimal, car washes, cleaning it out, taking it to the delivery site, done, right? On the back end, you have a VA handling the admin, responding to one-off customer communications. And similar to Airbnb, like you mentioned earlier, we do have systems where we automate the messaging, the confirmation messages, check-in messages, all of those different instructions. So, and then the VA handles the reimbursements on the back end as well.
Can you break that down for me? And I'm sorry to cut you off, because a lot of people don't know the power of a virtual assistant. I've dabbled with it a few times. I've never pulled the trigger on it. So can you tell me about your experience with the virtual assistant, just how you found one, actually what it is, how you found one, because they take some time to kind of find the right working relationship. And that's one of the reasons why I was just like, oh, I don't know if I can do it.
Yep. So I actually started my VA with my social media. So they would be responding to DMs, they would be, you know, answering emails, setting up podcasts, interviews, things of that nature. But I found my VA through this young lady named Annalisa. She's actually First Fam, aka from Texas, I believe, right? So
Okay.
she runs a virtual assistant agency, teaches people how to become virtual assistants. So it was a no-brainer for me. It's like, okay, Annalisa, I have this listing. This is what I'm looking for. Can you throw this in your group? So she threw it in my group, or threw it in her group, and you know, we interviewed from there. But the biggest thing with a virtual assistant, I think, is first and foremost, you got to protect your information, right? So I use a company called LastPass for all my passwords and things of that nature.
Okay. Yeah.
It's relatively
I'm familiar
cheap.
with. Yeah.
But
LastPass is
then
pretty good.
secondly, you really have to educate them on, you know, what they need to do. So me and my partner, George, we actually made like, man, probably like 25 Zoom videos of just I forget exactly what they call them, but the word is escaping me, but basically instructions on how
Like
to
a
do
tutorial?
any and everything. Yeah, all the tutorials on how to do any and everything in a business. So it made it really, really easy for them. And then another savvy thing we did, which I suggested, was we created a competitive compensation structure. Whereas, you know, maybe they wanted $1,500 flat every single month. We're like, okay, well, here's what we'll do. We'll actually give you $850 on the back end. You know, anytime we're running a sale and you're managing the social media, putting those posts out, we'll let you put your affiliate link in our bio. So now you get the ability to make 50% of any sale you get. So instead of making 1,500 flat, which is what you wanted, you'll get 850 flat. And then, you know, some months she'll make like $4,000. So she'll make like, you know, almost triple what she wanted in the first place.
Wow.
And now it gives her the incentive to always be trying to bring in more sales. Because I read, I think it was Grant Cardone. I was reading some book and he said, like, every person in your organization should be selling for you, right? So when I read that, I'm like, this is the perfect way to ensure that this person is going to be on task. Because if they're on task, you know, they have no cap on how much they can make with us.
That's dope, man. You mentioned Grant. I used to follow Grant like crazy. I went to one of his conferences in Miami, the 10X conference. I actually went to one a couple years back. So yeah, it's good to hear you mention Grant. Shout out to Grant Cardone. But yeah, that's dope, man. So how did you learn that strategy of negotiating or even building that kind of deal with the virtual assistant?
Man, it's honestly a lot of my ideas, they just pop into my head, bro. Like, honestly, I think it's really because I'm always educating myself. I'm always reading myself. I'm always trying to think through things through different lens and look at them from, you know, different angles. And, you know, over time, it was kind of just like, it becomes instinct because you just educate yourself so much and you always kind of stay ready. So it wasn't like something I read anywhere. It was just like, he kind of sparked the thought, but then I just got strategic with it.
Right. You applied it. You're like, you know what, this might work right here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, reading, one of the great things about reading is reading gives you tools. Yep. Reading, it's like when people say, oh, how do you build business acumen? How do you know how to do this and do that? And, you know, maneuver, reading, you know, education, you know, self-education, because what will happen is once you start to run into different problems, you're going to have to find different strategies to overcome those things. And, you know, I was reminded of a quote the other day. It says, it's never a lack of resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness. And that's exactly what you're talking about. It's not that you didn't have the resources, or let's say you didn't have the resources to do it. Let's say you didn't have $1,500 to pay her. You know, let's say you didn't really want to pay that much, you know, for a VA. That could be expensive. Or you was like, you know what, that's not what I want to do right now, but I could do $850. And so then you had to go back and realize or come up with some type of game plan to approach them or her and say, hey, would you take this? And that was a great way because now she gets to benefit from your brand and she's selling for you. So that makes her happy because she just made more money. Now she's going to do your work for the price that she paid. So little nuggets like that, you know, that's, you know, I say this all the time. And the only shortcut in life is wisdom. That's the only shortcut. And if you look for wisdom, wisdom is everywhere. You can look at it. You can look for wisdom in failure. You can look for wisdom in success. You can look for it in other people's failures and their life lessons. You don't always have to take the hard road and learn everything by going through famine. Like you ain't supposed to be out here, you know, struggling. You don't have to have the Steve Jobs, I worked out of my basement store, and I heard you say that, you're a little bit more conservative in that approach where, you had a traditional job where you're like, you know what, let me do the corporate thing for a while. And then you realize like, that's not for me. And that's a very similar story to myself. I worked that corporate job. I moved up that ladder. And then eventually I got to a point, I'm just like, you know what, this ain't for me. Like, I got to see what I'm made of. I gotta know what's in me. And so I see that hunger. So my last question, because I want to move on to what I call the Econix 10. What made you jump? What made you jump into entrepreneurship full time? Like, when did you realize that? Because everybody has that aha moment that, oh, okay, like you wake up and then either you pissed off and you sick of it, or you're super inspired and you just move.
Oh yeah, man. Honestly, it was my last busy season working as a public accountant, working in public accounting. Man, when I tell you, they worked us like crazy. And not only that, we were so shorthanded, not just on the team that I was on, but staff wide, or company wide. And they didn't care. They didn't care. They wanted those results. They didn't care about other personal obligations you had. They didn't care about anything. And I saw that, the next levels that I was aspiring to, senior accountant, manager, all of that, they were in the office with me. My manager literally at the last day of our audit, he stayed at the office, slept in a pod, came back the next day to close the audit with the same clothes he had on the day prior. And I'm like, that was the breaking point for me. It's like, nope, I got to get out. I need to make that exit as quick as possible. So when I actually got the call that I was laid off, at that next job, I didn't know if I was ready, but on that phone, I literally tell the director of finance, like, don't worry about me. I have plenty of income coming in. And like, even though I was afraid, I was kind of fearful. I felt like I got sucked into this security from, having that steady paycheck. I knew what I could do, but I think I was afraid of really putting myself out there. But, I just took that leap, and, I didn't look back from there.
Who did you become in the process of entrepreneur? Like, and now from when you jumped till now, who have you become? What has changed about you, and what have you realized about yourself?
Yeah, I think honestly, the main thing I realized is that I can really do anything I put my mind to. Something I live by is this poem, "The Man Who Thinks He Can." And it's literally just that. The man who thinks he can is the man who will win. And at the end of the day, I understand that I really do trust myself. And I really understand that, I'm capable of things that I may not even fathom, but, as long as I continue pushing the envelope, as long as I continue, searching for that potential, which you truly, in my opinion, you truly never know what your potential is, because every day you have an opportunity to grow. As long as I stay in that mindset, and keep putting myself in uncomfortable positions where I can grow, I think that I really don't have any type of limits.
That's what's up, man. That's powerful. I love that poem, by the way, "The Man Who Thinks He Can." Y'all read that poem.
Yes, sir.
I want to shift over to the Econix 10. So it's just 10 questions, not rapid fire, but just 10 basic questions. I just want to get your feedback on. You ready?
Okay. Yep. Let's do it.
First question. What would you title this chapter in your life?
Ooh. I think, honestly, it'd probably be grow or die. And the reason I say that is
I like that. I like that. Grow or die.
I'm at a point in my life where honestly I'm comfortable, but I'm still kind of uncomfortable. And I have some ideas on some things that I really want to do that's going to put me in a position to where I can grow, but not only grow, but I can set a foundation that, my family can eat on for generations to come. And it's really like just going for it, even though I really don't have to. I can sit back and be comfortable, and the generation, they'll still be in a really, really great position. But it's like, continue pushing that envelope. Like, don't stay stagnant, or essentially, you'll die. You'll be dead.
That's what's up, man. What superpower would you have?
Oh man. Have you seen this movie called Jumper?
I have seen Jumper. It's been a minute, but I've seen it.
I think it'd be Jumper, where I can literally see any type of photo and I can just jump to that particular place.
You know who has that power? Well, it's not like that, but Nightcrawler from X-Men. I love his superpower. It's like teleportation. He can just
Exactly.
Yeah, I love Nightcrawler. That's dope. That's dope. What would you invest in right now if money wasn't an issue?
If money wasn't an issue, really new construction buildings, and small multifamily new construction buildings, because I really love the idea of one building something from the ground up that was never there before, but also, giving people the opportunity in the hood to see these brand new developments go up around them and know that they can live there. And not only that, know that, someone who looked like them built it. And then to be able to provide housing for people for, a structure that's going to be around for hundreds of years, that's something that really, really intrigues me right now.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. 5 dinner guests. Actually, nope, that's not it. If you weren't doing this, what would your other profession be?
No, that's a good question. It would be somewhere. It would have to be somewhere, something around finance. I do mainly car rentals and real estate, but one thing I really would like to do is kind of like what I like to call financial therapy. I think a lot of people need, that financial literacy, but they also need therapy. And I think they're really, really intertwined. So I'll probably try to figure out how to be a financial therapist.
That's what's up, man. That's a good term. 5 dinner guests, dead or alive, who's coming to your table?
Oh, probably Muhammad Ali. I think I might have Kobe and Jordan just for that mindset, that grit.
I knew you was a Kobe fan. I had a feeling. I'm like Mama mentality. Like I got Mama vibes.
Who else? Oh, the last two. Probably be some really deep thinkers. I don't even know, man. That is a great question. 2 people. Let's see. Ooh, what is his name? I forget his name off the top of my mind. But I would probably include like a Malcolm X because he was a really good thinker. And then someone super good in business, probably Mansa Musa, just to see what that mindset was like. Thousands, tens of thousands of years ago to be able to amass that much wealth. Like, what was your mindset to be able to do that?
Yeah, that's actually Mansa Musa. I never thought about him. That's actually a pretty dope person to have. Your celebrity crush, who is that?
Man, I've never got some of these questions. Oh man. Let's see. I haven't even thought about this for a long time. My celebrity crush. Who did it used to be? It wasn't
who you double
Halle.
tapping on IG.
I don't even know. I don't even follow a lot of celebrities, honestly. Right now, maybe I don't know. I don't think I have one. I don't even honestly think I have one.
Okay, no worries. All right, something that the average person wouldn't know about you.
Average person wouldn't know that I tumble. So I was actually a part of this group called Jesse White Tumblers in Chicago that, performed at like big parades, formed at, some basketball halftime shows, so backflips, front flips.
That's crazy. How'd you get into that? On a sidebar, but how'd you get
as a kid?
Just flipping around the house.
I was learning how to flip. My parents eventually took me to a tryout. I made it, and that was just a way for them, I guess, to
so
keep
you
me
taught
off the
yourself.
streets. Yeah. So my friends in the neighborhood, they knew how to flip, and then they told me, they didn't know how to teach nobody. Like, just jump backwards and put your hands down. And one day, I got the confidence to do it, and I did it, and didn't look back.
There you go. That's what's up, man. What is your favorite productivity hack? I'll give you an example. So for me, it's running. So when I run, I typically have a more productive day.
So for me, what I like to do is 1, put your phone on airplane mode, but 2, work in increments, work in 30 minutes to an hour increments, and then kind of build that up as you get that muscle to focus for longer and longer periods of times. But I like working in smaller increments and then taking a short break because it's just like short focused bursts of energy. I think are super, super important. And
that's dope.
For me, I'm just more productive when I work that way.
I'm big on tangible advice. I think a lot of people hit you with a lot of inspirational stuff, and that's great. It has its place. But one of the things that, circling back to Grant, I read his book called Be Obsessed or Be Average. I was like,
love that. Love that book.
That book changed it for me. That book is what changed the mindset for me, and it gave me. It was like it was okay to be obsessed, because how some people make it weird. They make it like, oh, it's taboo to obsess over your goals. And I'm a hyper focused individual when it comes to certain things. And so like, you got to slow down and you got to do this. And, they're not naysayers, but people trying to help, but not realizing that's poison. And then when I read Grant's book, Be Obsessed, y'all go check that out, man. It just gave me a different perspective. But most importantly, what he gave was the how to. He gave, so just how you said, hey, my favorite productivity hack, working in 30-minute increments. So somebody that would have given a general answer would have been like, all right, time management. Nah, bruh, how? What's the how to? So you just break it down into 30-minute increments and take a little break, because then you can stretch that mental muscle. So thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. Name 3 of the most influential people in your life.
Yeah, my mom, first and foremost, and then my grandma as well. And then the last person would be, it wouldn't even be a person, it would be just like my dad's side of the family. And I'll break that down because essentially what happened to me was, my mom's side of the family was very low income. So when I visited North Carolina, which is from my dad's side of the family, is from for the first time, I'm seeing all these people who are retired. And I'm like, I didn't even know people in my family retired. Like, this is a thing. And then I realized that they were super successful, all business owners, all traveled the world, did a lot of great things. And that's when it really clicked for me. Like, okay, well, if they can do it, their blood, I can definitely do it.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. All right. PB&J or grilled cheese?
Grilled cheese.
Oh man, I like PB&Js. What is one of your, or that's the Econix 10, but I have 2 follow-up questions and I'll let you get out of here, man. What was one of your biggest failures in business that you don't mind sharing with me?
My biggest failure. I've never had like a big failure, but something that a lot of people don't know. I had an e-commerce business. I think was that my first business? It might have been, I don't know. But I had an e-commerce business selling vanity mirrors, right?
What?
Vanity mirrors, like literally. So it wasn't necessarily a failure because I sold, all of my mirrors, but I didn't really like it. I didn't really like the concept. I was just kind of doing it because I thought it could be profitable. And yeah, that was just bad. Another one I would say, I had a credit repair business, and wow, I love what I did. I got to help a lot of people. I was stuck in the management of the business, and then kind of stretched myself too thin with other things I had going on. So let that one go. But I think now that I think about it, this is a great question. My biggest failure in business was myself. So I was trying to put my hands in, so many different things, e-commerce, credit repair, financial counseling or whatever it was, real estate, car rentals. And I couldn't focus on that one thing. So now focusing on just the 2 things, real estate and car rentals, I've been able to, scale that trajectory much, much quicker versus when I was trying to, have 7 streams of income when I didn't even have one that was producing 6 figures.
Right. And that's one of the issues that I ran into is trying to do too damn much at one time, like just doing too much. And once you start to that, and that's the key, y'all. When you pick one thing, if you got ADD and you need multiple things, pick 2. That's me. So I pick 1 or 2 things, and you really, really double down on those, because once you start to scale those, then just like you said, you got enough money to go to real estate. So that one thing will open up doors for other things. It's like a tree trunk with branches. You still got to have a stem, or you got to have a strong tree trunk in order to have that foundation. So all these other limbs can kind of grow healthy. And if not, you'll grow the limb, but the leaves will die. That's essentially what will happen. I love metaphors. But anyway,
that's a perfect analogy. Yeah. I love that.
Last question for you, man. What keeps you up at night?
Oh man, really legacy. One thing I'm obsessed with is not repeating, the same mistakes that my family did. I want to be married, before I have kids. I want to really, if I want to bring kids in this world, I really want to give them the best that they can have, and really just build them up to the point where they don't need for anything. And if they do want something, they'll have the confidence in themselves to go get it and go for it.
That's what's up, man. I think like that too, about the kids that I don't have. about the daughter or son that I don't have, about my grandkids that don't exist yet, like what am I leaving behind for them? How am I making their lives a little bit easier with the things that I'm doing now in my younger age. So then when I'm like 60, 70 years old and I can't walk no more, or God forbid, but like, what am I doing to sustain that legacy and to show and to be that person that like everybody can say like, all right, nah, he changed our family. Like he changed this and now we're better off for it. So I appreciate that, man. Look, y'all, the last thing I have for you, tell everybody where to find you, how to get in contact with you, and anything that you want to pitch. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes, sir. So you can find me on Twitter or Instagram, and I'm on TikTok now at the Infamous CPA. Man, and if you're interested in the car rental business, definitely check out our free car rental masterclass. We're going to show you how to start, scale, and automate your car rental business in the next 30 days. It's free right now, but it may not be free for long. So make sure you register because seats are limited. But yeah, if you want to chat with me, you want to hit me up, definitely hit me on Twitter or Instagram in a DM. I'm super responsive.
That's what's up, man. Y'all go check out Brian Robinson. He is the Infamous CPA. Brother, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for giving us a wealth of knowledge on the car rental business and how to scale. Y'all like, share, subscribe this episode and have a good one. Peace. Peace.